So, at what point did you and Dad have the conversation of, I'm going to crown Elegba? You know, what do you remember about that?
Well, I do remember that I had to crown because of, there was like a blood issue. And so if I didn't crown before age 8, I would have not made it.
So, how old are you when we're starting to get ready to crown you?
7.
Oh, wow. And how old are you now?
12.
Okay, so you got a good, what is it, 5-6 years in at this point?
Yeah, I think I turned 5 years today. I mean, not today.
Yeah.
This year.
Wow. Now, that's a pretty intense conversation for a young lady. I mean, you know, what do you remember going through your mind, if anything, when you're having that conversation? Is there fear, nervousness? Were we kind of like, okay, this is what we have to do, so we're going to do it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it was mainly just got to do it.
It's really impressive, you know, because most kids, when they're hearing, like, things like blood issues, where blood is a touchy subject for people, or, you know, oh, my God, I might not make it, you know, all these things that can be really intense. The fact that you were like, yeah, let's make it happen, that says a lot about your character. So what were some of the things that you remember were said to you to prepare you for the process?
I think it was my parents that were mainly talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't really remember much of that because it was such a long time ago.
Yeah. So what about the actual crowning? I mean, not the things that happened in the room, but like the build-up and things like that. Do you recall?
It was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a really good time doing it. I think the main thing that I had fun about is because I could do whatever I wanted in the area.
Very nice.
Because everything was lifted, so I think that was like my main yay.
Is that kind of how you live your life, on your own terms?
I guess so.
There you go. Awesome. And there's a nice party that they do for you guys as well. Do you remember that?
Yeah, there was like a piñata, candy, the little corn kennel things.
Mm-hmm.
It was very fun.
So how did it feel going through that process, seeing all those people there and being like, wow, this is all for me?
It was a lot, but it was, like I said, really fun. So it wasn't that much
now
on me.
Your dad has mentioned it to me before that you were actually presented to the drums as well. Can you kind of walk us through that process? Do you remember any of that?
I do remember when I was presented to the drums. It was very fast. It was only like 30 seconds and then some dancing. It was pretty quick, but I do remember. Yeah, it was.
What are you feeling as they're pulling you out of the room and they're taking you closer and you're kind of hearing things going on?
Man, it's really hard to explain, but like everything was like going so fast, having to run out, spinning in circles.
Yeah.
So all I heard was all the noise, the drums, and then just running back into the room.
Yeah. At any point, did you feel like you weren't there, even though you were there, if that makes sense?
I felt like I was there, but everything was spinning because I was spinning.
Yeah.
So I couldn't really comprehend everything.
Yeah. There's a lot of energy going on. You know, you're going through a lot of new processes. So now you're a crown priestess of Elegba at like 7 or 8. Whoa. What's it like going back to school now? You know, wearing your whites, your hair looks a little different.
Well, at the time, I didn't really go to school. It was virtual school because of the pandemic.
Okay.
So it was just online. And my teacher was aware of it.
Oh.
Because I think she lived in Miami. So she was aware of like what had happened. Not the whole process and everything, but how I had to wear whites. And so it wasn't that much. It was just sitting in front of a computer screen. So.
Yeah, that was a traumatic time for sure. I mean, just as far as COVID, like, how do you feel that affected you, like not being able to be around friends or do certain activities? You know, what was some of the effects that had on you?
I mean, not much because then again, I still was very young, so you don't really realize everything that's going on around you. You kind of just go by day.
Yeah.
And then I still got to see some of my friends on the screen.
Cool.
So that was good, but it is very different, like from homeschooling versus being in an actual classroom.
Did anybody say anything? Like any of your friends? Like, hey.
No, nobody really said anything like, oh, why are you wearing white?
Yeah.
Why do you have a head covering on? It was just you do the class and then wait till the next one.
That's pretty cool. I mean, it's ironic how children that age could be a little more cautious of things like that than adults. Like when I used to wear my whites, you know, people would run up to me and, you know, say hallelujah and things like that, so it would scare me. But the fact that a bunch of 8-year-olds can respect somebody's choices as far as hair and clothing is really promising, you know, as compared to us.
Yeah, I don't think anybody, because it was second grade, I don't think anybody really paid attention or realized.
Yeah.
So that just made it all easier and no questions asked.
Yeah. So, what's it like being a 𝗷𝗸𝗶𝗶𝗏's kid? Because, you know, I have my children. I have 5. And, you know, a lot of, I remember I used to speak to my sons. I'd be like, hey, do you guys want to be 𝗷𝗸𝗶𝗏s? And they would tell me flat out no. They're like, we don't want your job, you know, because you're usually covered in some type of material, or you work very late, or your back always hurts. What's it like, you know, being a 𝗷𝗸𝗶𝗏's daughter? Like, you know, just kind of seeing dad go through his day.
I do say sometimes when I'm like in the ceremonies, it is not a lot to take in, but you are learning some new things as you go. And if anything really happens, which it won't, he's right there. So it's not like you need to like panic, because it can be resolved very easily with very quick, because it's just 5 steps away. You're in the room and then consult.
Yeah. Do you feel like you're held to a higher standard? Like I've spoken to some people who were like pastors' kids or children of like priests or imams and things like that. Do you feel like you're held to a higher standard because your father is a priest 𝗃𝗏𝗏, or you know, your bonus mom is a priestess?
No, I feel the same.
Yeah.
It's
Good.
not any like really different.
Good. Well, that's kind of a reflection of just a healthy home in general. You know, we do the right thing and we expect good results. Now that you're, you know, teenager, preteen, what is it? Do you ever have like? Because I remember when I would practice 𝗃𝗏, even though I didn't crown as young as you did, I used to kind of feel weird because I went to Catholic school originally. So like as I'm going through school, they're telling us how bad our spirituality is. They didn't know I practiced it, so it's kind of like an out-of-body experience where it's like, okay, we might not make it to heaven because of this, but I still like this. You know, you going through your process and having a title already. What's it like? Do you ever kind of have a similar experience? Like, oh my God, like everybody, you know, is doing the same thing, but there's something different about me?
I mean, sometimes, because 2 of my best friends are Christian.
Oh.
So it's like sometimes it's like, I see where you're going with this, but, you know, I don't do the same. So it does make me feel like different sometimes, because everybody else is like, oh, I believe in God. What about you? Like, oh yeah, me too.
Yeah.
You know, just different.
Yeah. With roosters. You
Yeah.
know, chickens. You know, dad comes home with a box of roosters, or, you know, Susan's probably down with the 𝗃𝗏𝗏𝗏 or something like that. What was your weekend like, you know? So I get it. Now, what has your spiritual experience been like? Like, are you somebody that feels spirituality, or do you actually see people that have passed on, or do you dream?
So when I was little, I was very spiritual. Like I thought what was imaginary, it was actually spirits. I saw people with their faces, and sometimes when I see spirits, it's like it's a bunch of hue kind of colors to form a facial shape. So it's not like me looking at you and I see it's realistic. Yeah. It's whenever you look at the sun and then you close your eyes and everything's like a bunch of bright colors, that's how I see. And then sometimes I feel spirits, like just the energy and the tension around me. And then I have certain ways to communicate with them. So
that's really incredible, because I think you're one of the first people that I've met that actually sees them the way I do. So I remember the first time I saw somebody that I imagined had passed on was when I was like 3. Because my grandmother's room was on one side and my mother's room was over here. And in the middle of the night, sometimes I'd walk across the hallway, which would lead to the stairs, but I wouldn't go down the stairs, thank God. But I remember one night, and it still takes my breath away. I remember one night, for some reason, I stopped in the middle and I looked to the stairs and I saw this huge black shadow. And it wasn't the regular black shadow that was always there. And I remember it was almost like vibrating, like it was like a wave, like almost like a cloud almost.
I've seen those.
And I remember, I'm not going to say that it spoke to me like telepathically or whatnot, but the energy that it was giving me, I kind of was getting messages about it, that it was a man, that he was of a certain skin tone, these were his characteristics. And this is me at like 3 or 4, like this is how traumatic it was. And I remember after a while of getting whatever it was trying to give me, I ran to the room. And so that's always stuck with me. If you could put an age on what was the first thing you saw, how old do you think you were?
I was probably 3 or 4 when
There
I
you go.
saw my first, what I thought was an imaginary best friend.
Yeah. What could you tell us about them that you recall?
So I remember she was, you know the Wendy's logo?
Oh, yeah.
She looked just like her, and we would play like we were best friends, and all night, like in the middle of the night, you'll hear somebody running around the table. Yeah, that's me and her.
Oh, my gosh.
So we were like really close, and I thought, oh yeah, this is my imaginary friend. And then everybody else around me was like, she doesn't realize it yet.
Yeah.
So I feel like that was one of the first ages that my spirituality really started.
Oh. Now, that could be really scary. I mean, were you scared at all, or were you just like, this is my friend, like, we're cool, everything's fine?
Yeah, I was just like, this is my bestie.
Wow. And were there more afterwards, or was it like that one for a while and then other things presented themselves? Or was it a bunch of them at once? You know?
I feel like it was just, if you see them, and like she was one of the first people that I ever saw and really communicated with. But then, like I said, with like the hue, colors, and it's like you see little radiation waves just like floating around.
Yeah.
And in my head, I was like, wait, what are those? And then now I realize, like, those are like people, those are things, those are spirits.
It's really incredible you say that, because I've always had the theory that the Orishas are nothing more than wavelengths of light. You know, when you look at the original name of what they were known as 𝗃𝗏𝗏, which means I descend from heaven, from the sun, right? And it's the various wavelengths of light. And recently, I was watching a podcast where a gentleman was explaining how the periodic table of elements, which is like that big square thing in science sometimes with all the 2-letter combinations, that we have it all wrong. That it's not a square tablet. It's actually a circle. And the way he actually depicted it, because there's another version of it that everybody else in the world uses other than this country, it's a bunch of circles in different colors, right? Which is how it actually looks in the universe. So the fact that you're mentioning it like that, you know, when you talk about sight, right, especially paranormal sight, there's something within people who have the ability of seeing it that other people don't have, whether it's a certain configuration of the eye, spiritual makeup, the brain. It is a gift, you know. It can be a curse too, because not everybody's going to take it the same way. You have people such as yourself who are like, yeah, they're there, we're cool, keep it moving. You have other people who are completely terrified of it, maybe because they don't have the support system of being like, okay, you see dead people, let's move right along. You know, so it is incredible, because as we get to know each other as spiritual people and we talk about each of our experiences, you begin to realize I'm not the only one going through this. And that's a really big thing. I mean, when you noticed Dad was getting more involved in the spirituality and meeting other people with similar gifts, did that bring any confirmation to you? Did it bring any, like, tranquility to you? Because, you know, if you're the only one that's seeing dead people in a room, it can get a little weird sometimes, I would imagine.
Yeah, sometimes. I remember there was this one time in 5th grade when I saw one of my classmates' spirits. I didn't say anything because nobody else in there knows about this,
Yeah.
or from what I know.
Yeah.
So I saw one of my classmates' spirits during the middle of the lesson. I was like, oh my God. Because I know this person, I know this king is not in our class. Because what it looked like, it was like a king. And I was like, I know we don't have any royal people in our class right now, so.
Yeah. That's pretty wild. And then, you know, you look at things like that, you don't know how far their lineage goes back. Like, you might see things that they don't even remember, you know, like, until now with, like, Ancestry.com and whatnot, like, people are starting to find out more about themselves, and those things are coming out more. But before, all we had was mediumship, like what you have. After you crowned, did you notice a difference? Like, were things more clearer to you, or could you hear things more clearly? Like,
I did understand things a lot more because I went through the whole process and the whole, like, 7 days where
sure.
they, like, kind of teach you the stuff when they do it.
Mm-hmm.
So it did become more understandable to me because I went through the whole process. I mean, some things when you see it can still be scary. Like, if I see, like, dark shadows sometimes, I felt like that was so scary even after I crowned.
Yeah.
Everything, it got a little more understandable and clearer.
Nice. So, there's this guy named Elegba. What do you know about him?
He's my father.
Okay. And what does that mean?
He's my guardian angel that I crowned with. And my best friend.
Okay. What's your impression of him? Like, what do you... Because, you know, you talk about Elegba, he's kind of like Loki. You know, he walks through walls, he walks through dimensions, plays tricks on people. You know, when you hear that you're about to crown an energy like that, or that you are crowned an energy like that, what goes through your mind?
I think that's very cool.
Yeah.
That you have, and, like, he's like a little jester.
Yeah.
I think that's very cool.
He's just playing with everybody's destiny.
That's
And
what I love.
Okay, then. So you got some things in common then. So now, when you first started understanding him and whatnot, you know, did you see resemblances between, or similarities between your character and his?
Very.
Such as?
Like, you know, playing with people and just being able to get along with, especially little kids.
Yeah.
And, like, I would love playing tricks on people.
Yeah.
You know those little whoopee cushions and stuff?
Oh, gosh.
And the little magic
I've been a victim
boxes?
of many. Yeah.
Yes. That was my childhood.
Yeah. Well, it's really ironic because I have two children that are children of Elegba. My son Danny's crowned, and my daughter Allie has hermano Orula. And I've always felt like the children of Elegba are very likable people, very social. You know, they're very well liked. But there's another aspect to them that a lot of people, I think, don't pay enough attention to. And being that Elegba is sometimes seen as the little god or the trickster and whatnot, I don't think they realize how serious he can be. You know, what, as far as his character and recognizing it within yourself, do you ever feel like you're underestimated? Because I know you compete and you do sports and things like that. Have you ever felt that?
I mean, sometimes, because sometimes people will be like, oh, no, that's just Sophia, you know. She's just a social butterfly or something.
Yeah.
And it's like, you people must not know me that much then.
I'm serious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because sometimes with things, like, especially, I'm very competitive when it comes to, I'm very competitive. So sometimes when it comes to that, I do get, like, very serious sometimes. Or, like, I do have not really bad anger, but I do get angry.
Well, you're passionate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I do see, like, the warrior side come out of that with him, being that he is a warrior. So.
Well, I would see that in my kids as well. Like Danny, he used to box and things like that. And when you would just interact with him throughout the day, you'd be like, oh, cool guy, whatever. But when you'd see him get in the ring and the way he would fight and whatnot, you would never expect that. You know, so I think there is that duality, especially with that Olorisha. That's always has to be taken into account because he is the balance. He is the good and the bad, the red and the black. You know, being a young lady in this very modern time, social media and all the things going on, how does knowing that an energy like that is a part of you bring you comfort?
I mean, it is good to know that, like, I am a child of Elegba, and it does make me feel good about that. And I feel like that fits me very well. I don't know. I have an idea of what it would be like to be crowned with, other saints, but I feel that Elegba was like my guardian angel.
Of all the ones that you've interacted with, you felt the most common with him.
Yeah, I felt the most connected.
Nice. Are you taking care of your Elegba on a weekly basis, young lady?
I was.
Okay.
And then I got very busy.
Okay, good.
But I do want to start up again.
Very good. Very good. You got dad and everybody watching you. But, you guys have a lot going on. I tell you, your age group has a lot to think about, moving forward. Not to be too daunting, but there's so many things going on in the world right now. Politically, socially, technologically. It's nice to have spirituality because you have an advantage that most people don't realize they don't have. There's no worse feeling, especially as you get older, that, you're alone. And with things like that cement head, right, that is Eshu, you'll never be alone. You said one thing earlier that really impacted me. You said, he's my father, he's my family, Have you had that conversation with any of your friends? Like, hey, I talk to a cement head from time to time and we understand each other?
No, I can't.
They might not be ready for it, yeah. But at least you know that he's listening, and that's really great. What is it like? I mean, what do you feel the benefits are of having spiritual parents? Because maybe some of your friends go through the same phenomenon. Even your Christian friends might see, spirits and whatnot, and they can't really talk to their parents about it because, all the things that could come from that. How is it beneficial to you to have a father, a bonus mom, that is able to be like, yeah, you saw a dead person, let's talk about it. What's that like?
I feel like it's easier, and it's like the most people that I can talk to, because you can't really talk to anybody else about that. Like, hey, I saw a dead person today.
Yeah, guidance counselor might be like, okay, yeah.
Let's talk to your parents about that.
Yeah, right.
And then just be like, yeah, I believe her.
And then they see dad come in with a big necklace, and they're like, okay, we need to get somebody else involved because this guy, he's going through the same thing. But that's awesome. And James, I'll call you in now. How are we bringing in dad? Was it the Hogwarts thing? What are we doing this now?
Yeah, one snap and he's back. And he's here.
Yeah, he is. He's always right there. My brother, first and foremost, before we get into your segment, I want to congratulate you on raising a good human being and someone that's very self-aware. As a father of daughters as well, that's really our goal, for them to always know who they are and know their value and where they come from. So obviously you remember much more than she does, right? So when you were getting into the spirituality, was she born yet? Like when you were like Mano Rula stages, was she here yet?
No.
Okay.
When I got into it was, first initially was right around 2002. Myself, getting to like the spiritual aspect of, I had been seen before, but I didn't know anybody to talk to about it. Yeah. And I was told I was crazy by my own parents.
Wow.
Moving forward, about 2009, I would say, when I received my hand of Rula, I was 25. She wasn't here yet. She didn't come until 2013.
Okay, so 4 or 5 years later,
about 4 or 5 years later, yeah. By that time, I was already a 𝗷𝗲𝗶𝗍. I was practicing, not as much as I am now, but, she was here. Her mother and I had agreed not to really bring her into religion or do anything, to not force it on a kid.
Be patient,
or anything like that, right. But I did want to know who her guardian 𝗿𝗏 was.
Sure.
And her mother had agreed at the time, so I believe it was November 2013, she was about 9 months old. that's when we found out with 𝗃𝗏𝗍𝗍, she was a kid of Elegba.
Nice. That's
And-
a good 𝗲𝗲𝗍𝗲.
Yeah, and that's when we knew she would have to crown before
Sure.
8.
Yeah. It's
to
funny.
be able
We
to
were just talking
continue.
about that in y'all's episode, and you actually lived
Yes.
that experience to a certain degree.
Yep.
Just to backtrack a bit, you becoming a 𝗲𝗲𝗍𝗲 and you going through your experiences as a young man, how important was it for you to make sure she felt comfortable in her spirituality? I mean, when you come from like a Roman Catholic background,
Right.
we have a lot in common there. And the feelings that would make you feel like, hey, I saw that. No, you didn't. No, but I did, and I'm still seeing it. How important was it for you to make a space for her to know that it's okay?
Yeah, I didn't want her to go through the same thing I did.
Yeah.
This is why, like, she honestly never, not for anybody out there, not knocking it, but didn't even know who Jesus was until probably like a couple of years ago, or
Yeah.
anything about Christianity, Catholicism,
Yeah.
has no understanding of it whatsoever.
Yeah.
There was no need for it. I never saw the need for it.
Yeah.
It was an Ifa, spiritual 𝗃𝗏𝗍𝗍 house. I didn't see the need for her to know any of that. And
Yeah.
she had seen, ever since she was little, we'd see her in the crib looking up, talking to people, and it wasn't just baby babble.
It was from a very early age.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. She may only remember from 3 to 4, but it was way prior to that. Like,
Wow.
I had home security footage from inside the house where at 19 months old, she turns on the light at 3 a.m., starts walking around the the family room coffee table with Jessica, having a fight with her. That's one of her spirits.
That's the Wendy?
That's the Wendy's girl.
Okay.
And having an argument with her and telling Jessica what she's not going to do, and she's not going to wake up Dad because Dad's going to get mad if she keeps on being loud like this.
Coño.
And she's just literally, I mean, somebody could call it sleepwalking if they want, whatever it is, but she's arguing with Jessica.
Straight
like
up.
she's right there. And it was one of those things where I'm like, do I stop her? Do I leave her alone? And I just kind of let her do her thing.
Yeah.
And it
Tell her.
was-
Tell Jess what you got to tell her.
Yeah.
Do you?
And that was really, that was the first time that I really knew that she was seeing for sure.
Yeah.
Moving on from there, it was whenever she'd say something, we'd affirm it. If I didn't see it myself, I'd ask 𝗃𝗏𝗍𝗲.
Yeah,
and
sure.
show her she saw was correct, or sometimes it'd be
Yeah, just a kid.
right.
You know?
It could be just a imaginary friend like kids do, but it wasn't that. It was a lot of times she was seeing spirits. She was seeing people's energy, like you were saying.
That's, to be honest with you, bro, that's really impactful because, you've been in 100 misas like I have, and, everybody sees the same thing.
Right.
You tiene un muerto así, un Congo, all these
Right.
different things. But I've always felt like the people who see energy are on a different level.
Yeah.
Like for someone such as her to be like, wait, I'm seeing wavelengths, I'm seeing like vibrations, all that. That's kind of like Matrix. Like you're seeing nature in motion.
Yeah.
So I've always felt like that's on a different tier. Now, did you ask for Elegba first in the 𝗲𝗍𝗍𝗲? Like
We did.
Oh, you did.
We went straight to Elegba.
Really? Well, I mean, he's
Yeah.
huge there.
Yeah. And it wasn't just because of the 𝗃𝗲𝗍, it was just because literally even her character at 9
personality.
months, personality,
Wow.
just had Elegba all over it.
Really.
And we went straight to Elegba first.
So how did that deepen your relationship with Eshu, seeing that he gave you a daughter?
Very accepting because I had always wanted a son. Like
Yeah.
I think every alpha male does. They want
Yeah,
a
so
son initially.
testosterone and things like that. When we
Absolutely.
get over that, yeah.
Yep.
But we realize daughters is what we most need.
Yeah, to calm us down.
Yeah.
Like and show us maybe the only compassion we'll ever have.
Yeah, yeah. And
So
love. Yeah.
that's absolutely. It made it. I respected 𝗃𝗏𝗍𝗶 way more. Not like anybody ever disrespects 𝗃𝗏𝗍𝗶. I don't think they want to cross that and have their roads.
But with him,
completely
things kind of
crossed.
get misconstrued, and
But
that's why I
it
was
does.
telling Soph, like, the underestimation aspect
Right.
of things. I've noticed with them, and they're very intelligent people, very capable people. They just think different. Where we're more linear, they're like, I could do that. Like, you'll see them come from a different angle, and initially you're kind of like, eh. But when you start hearing them out more and more and more, you're like, wow, that's a much better idea than I could have ever made. So with them, it's just understanding how they kind of tick. Because with my kids, it's the same thing. Like, the children of Elegba in my house, they stump us all. And you can't even see them coming, you know? So, okay, now we know she's a daughter of Eshu, right? So, oh my God, we're about to crown her. Maybe about to crown a 7, 8-year-old young lady. What's going through your mind?
It was January 28th, 2020, specifically. She was 6. She was going to be 7.
Wow.
And we were at a drumming. and it happened to be somebody that, you know, or a dear friend of ours, 𝗀𝗲𝗍, that mounted 𝗀𝗀.
Nice.
And his 𝗀𝗀 came down and pulled her aside, you know, did the whole maso.
Wow.
And was
all
like, Eshu de ella, 𝗀𝗲𝗍𝗲 Elegua. Was like, you know, the hair, from the hair body down is mine, but her head is Elegua's.
Yeah.
And come to find out, you know, July 7th, the day of Ita, her mom ended up being 𝗀𝗀.
Wow.
So that was like a
Yeah, lined
definite
up
thing.
perfectly.
It was perfectly lined up.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was scary because, you know, it was from one of those things like we're being told something that we knew from 7 years prior that was kind of put on the back burner.
Yeah.
To it's really happening and it's in front of us now.
Yeah.
You know, we got to get as many people as possible.
Yeah.
And plan, because planning an 𝗃𝗲 takes time.
Well,
As
no,
you know.
and planning an 𝗃𝗲 and then planning for them, you know, the amount of previous ceremony,
Correct.
the amount of moving components, like, honestly, brother, like, my godfather used to laugh because when they used to call us for a matanza, we're like, oh, it's an Elegba. No one would respond for like 24 hours.
Yeah.
Everybody
Yeah.
would have to like meditate, like, okay, are we ready? All right, we're
Yeah.
ready.
Yeah.
But you really got to have your boots laced up tight, man. And another thing with that ceremony is that, yeah, a lot of animals, a lot of moving parts, but just the phenomenon.
Yeah.
Like, there's always something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, something got loose, or the cops showed up, or
one was missing.
yeah.
and
What
we're
happened?
Getting down to, yeah. We had a 4 legs that was missing
𝗀𝗲𝗍𝗲,
from the list. It's always something. It
Claro,
happens. It's
no.
like, I swear, Eshu Elegua put so many hurdles
On your
in
character.
front of any crowning that I've ever participated in, including hers.
Yeah.
And it's there to really test to see if everybody's going to have the faith.
Yeah.
To see if everybody's going to continue. And it's his way of playing tricks on everybody.
Yeah.
You know, for a blessing to come after.
Yeah.
It's always like that.
Yeah, he finds delight in our distress.
Yeah.
No question asked. Now, you as a father, you know, seeing her go through the process, I mean, she must have been a whole soldier, you know, like to get through, you know. What surprised you the most about her character, seeing her go through that process?
Probably the 63 animals.
Jeez.
In, you know, the matanzas. She
Yeah.
didn't have a problem with it. In
Wow.
fact, she decided to play tricks on us,
Wow.
on her godfather,
Oh, God.
her stepmother, and I. It was probably about 1:30 in the morning when we were done with everything. And all of a sudden, we're hearing a goat call bah, throughout the room. And I look over at her godfather, 𝗀𝗲𝗍𝗲. I'm like, bro, did we forget one? And it was her in the throne, just
That's funny.
calling out. And I'm like, what are you doing, Sophie? She's like, it's what I heard all day. And I'm like, okay.
You guys kept me up all day. Now I'm going to keep y'all up all day.
He
Pretty
walked in ready with a knife and everything.
I really
I'm
thought
like,
we
Dad,
forgot
it's just
one.
me.
He got
It's just me. It's
scared.
just me.
To the rescue. He's going to poke up the goat, the poor thing.
I mean,
you
the
know?
one thing that we told her was like, you're in the throne, your walls are lifted, you get to be a princess pretty much, even though you're crowning a prince.
That's all you.
And you get whatever you want, right?
Yeah.
So for her, it was like my week of
Vacation.
glory.
This is great. Yeah, I get to
Yeah.
dress up every day. They wait on me hand and foot.
Well, she wore, like, most people have an issue with, you know, the first 3 months with the umbrella and
No.
everything like that. No, she did it up. I don't know if she remembers, but with the scarf,
Yeah.
she had a British accent,
Yeah.
twirling
yeah.
the umbrella around outside.
I was
And
always
people
playing with
would
the
be like,
umbrella.
you know, it's summer, honey. It's not raining. And then she'd go off in a British accent. Like, I'm British.
She's just playing with
And
everybody.
just playing with everybody,
we
yeah.
were
I'm
getting
like, this is...
a couple of turtles,
Okay.
and I had the British accent,
Yeah.
and the guy that was like selling it to us, he was like, "Oh, what part of the UK are you from?" And I was like,
I'm from Wales.
"Great Britain."
Yeah.
I even tricked the guy,
Yeah.
and then Dad was like,
I'm like,
Horrible.
so stop.
You're
so
horrible,
stop.
please.
I'm
You
like,
gotta
no,
get-
she's not.
You gotta
Just
get
stop.
arrested.
Yeah.
No, but that's incredible for someone at that age to embrace a process like that.
She
So
did.
much uncomfortability, so much unknown, and for you to just, you know, embrace that process, it speaks so much about your character. Because that's really what life is. I think Eshu is the constant reminder that we have to consistently put ourselves in uncomfortable positions.
Yeah.
That's what life is. Because, you know, at your age, things are rudimentary to a certain degree. You wake up, you go to school, you have some activities, there might be a chicken. But for the most part, things are kind of set. But when you get to this stage, when I wake up in the morning, I have no idea what's waiting outside of my bedroom door. As a father, as a mother, as a parent, as an adult. And I think that is Eshu playing a role in all of our lives. It is the unknown. That's why he lives behind here. We'll never see our own,
Yep.
you know? So the fact that you're able to, you know, embrace that at such a young age, it speaks of great things to come. And Eshu was kind of like that. He was always about the obstacle, the challenge. Oh, you think I can't do that? I'm going to do it twice. You know, all those different things. So you as a father, seeing her now, young priestess, you know, adolescent, you know, what are you recognizing in her now as she's growing into a young lady, and how Eshu and the Olorisha process has been able to facilitate that?
I think it's calmed her down in the sense she understands things and takes it on better. Like, people are surprised when I say she's 12 years old. She's only in 6th grade.
Yeah.
You know, they think she's 14, 15 years old.
Mm-hmm.
She has that whole demeanor of like an elder person.
Yeah.
Not because she's not really an elder in the religion, but 5 years coming up soon. It's not like, you know, somebody that just got initiated.
Yeah, no.
And it gives her like a little bit of a different character, a little bit of a different attitude. I think she works it well, like very well. She's already been in a couple ceremonies. She's already worked a couple santos.
Wow.
You know, and she just does whatever she has to do and whatever they tell her to, which is most kids would have an issue with more than half the things that happen in that room.
Yeah.
For them to
Most
tell
adults,
them.
I see most adults pass
A
out.
lot of adults too,
You
as
know?
well, yes. But no, she takes it well. She does it. She's always helping out as a 𝗃𝗶𝗶𝗶, 𝗃𝗶𝗶𝗃 as well, with a role to play 𝗃𝗶𝗶𝗶 in the plante. And like, I'm proud, honestly, as a father.
It's incredible. You've given her a legacy and an inheritance. I think the greatest thing we can give to our children is our culture, our morals, our virtues. And so they always know who they are and know where to look back to, right? I'd like to switch you and Susan out momentarily, because I'd like to get the maternal aspect of things to a certain degree. Because we 𝗃𝗏𝗏𝗃, all we know is knives and goats and smelling awkward. But, you know, I'd like to get, you know, the 𝗃𝗶𝗶𝗃 maternal interpretation of things for sure. Miss Susan, welcome back.
She's here.
Snaps, for real. You can move the mic closer. So if I got to ask you, how has it helped being a part of the spirituality, but also having an example like Miss Susan to be able to refer back to? Because there's things we as men will never understand as women will understand. So, you know, how much of a benefit has it been having her, you know, around and being able to, you know, give that advice?
It is very beneficial, because also when you work ceremonies, we're not the ones killing, and we're the ones that's working it. So I'm like, hey, what do I do?
Yeah.
Like, help me.
Yeah.
You know, like if we're having like to cook some things for certain ceremonies. Like I can't like, if Dad's busy, I can't be like, hey, how do I do this? I'm like, and I just go to her and I'm like, can you help me?
Yeah. Oh, how has it been being in the role you're in, seeing her go through her initiation process and progress as a young lady? You know, what has that been like for you in the role you're in?
It's been amazing. I mean, just like her dad has said, she is much more mature beyond her years. She understands things and understands the concept and why we need to do it and what has to be done. Way more than what I would ever expect a child of her age to know. And she does an amazing job. Whenever we have her for the plantes that we do, she's my right-hand person. She's
amazing.
Right there, helps me
That builds a bond. You know, you're going to war together. You know, you got knives too.
Yeah.
Dead animals. You know, you guys are, you know, it builds a bond for sure.
She was there from the first Santo that we did.
Wow.
She was the 𝗃𝗶𝗶𝗃 to one of them, and she did phenomenal.
Incredible.
Like, that's a long process.
Yeah,
A
yeah.
long
And the most
time.
responsibility.
Absolutely.
You know, because they say the madrina does nothing, the 𝗃𝗏𝗏 does everything. So that's incredible.
And so we talked about every different aspect of the ceremony, and her dad and I told her, you know, what her responsibilities are and what to expect, and she was so excited. Wow. She was so excited. So to be able to have her by my side doing it, I couldn't have asked for anything more. It was really like a family affair.
Yeah. It's a family business, right?
Yeah.
Now, you being able to provide that support to Sophia, how important do you think it is that more women in the religion have a support system, whether it be a bonus mom or a madrina, to be able to coach them through? Because like I said, there's things that you guys go through within this practice that we'll never understand. And in my opinion, y'all have the most important job. You know, we're in a time with, you know, concepts like feminism and whatnot. And I'm a feminist. I believe women are not only equal but superior, you know. But understanding roles, you know, how important do you think it is for someone to be able to provide that feminine support as, you know, you guys go through your processes?
I think it's very important. You know, she sees whenever dad has stuff going on, whether it's, you know, an 𝗵𝗶𝗍𝗶 that he's got to do for somebody or, you know, a ceremony or whatever the case is, that, like, that's what comes first and foremost. We got to, you know, take care of whatever he needs help with. And I think it really gives her a lot of respect for the religion, for her spirituality. We always let her choose, you know, if she wants to participate in the misa, if she wants to participate in the plante. 9 times out of 10, she's saying yes, that she wants to. Yeah. And she does amazing. She really does. So it's very important, I think, because it also teaches them respect, and it you know, helps them have that bond, like you were saying, with, you know, their parents or the mentor that they have. You know, she's more like a best friend.
That's a beautiful thing. You know, the other day I went out with my sons to go watch a movie, and one of their girlfriends was there, and you know, I told her, I said, the greatest accomplishment we'll ever have as parents is being friends with our children. When they don't have to come back around and they still do, or they don't have to hang out with us and they still want to. So the fact that you guys are able to build that bond as a family, it's very moving. I personally took the decision with the children that I made not to baptize them, right? I was baptized, but at the same time, I didn't think baptizing them gave them a better chance of getting them into heaven, you know?
Yeah.
So I thought 𝗵𝗶 was more than enough. So hearing James's criteria as well, and having the strength and courage to be like, hey, you know, 𝗵𝗶 is more than enough is really comforting to see another brother who cares about his family as much as I do take that same move. But then we bring it full circle with you, and I think this is really the most impactful question. 𝗵𝗶 has been presented to you. You have assimilated 𝗵𝗶. It's been given to you. You're interacting with it now. Do you see yourself practicing 𝗵𝗶 into the future?
Yes, I do see myself doing the religion in the future.
Okay. Why?
Just because it is a part of my culture, and I haven't been, okay, let me reword this.
Go ahead, take your time.
I have been doing it for a long time, not like the longest time, obviously, but I have been doing it for a while, and I do think that just throwing that all away in the future would be just, you know, a waste. So I feel like I am meant to do this in the future.
Well, miss, I must say it's very comforting to hear you say that, because for someone of your age to understand the obligation and loyalty to something that means so much to your home when there's adults who don't uphold those precepts is very comforting for somebody such as myself who's given their life to 𝗵𝗶. To know that the future is in your hands, just like my children's hands, just like all of the youth, and to know that we won't be lost. So congratulations to you. Would you like to say anything to our viewership, being that 150,000 people, at least, are going to see this?
Wow.
Wow, Pedro.
One moment, guys. One moment.
Okay, take your time.
I would say definitely put your faith into the religion, because if you do stuff and just don't mean anything with it, that it's not gonna get you with what you not want. But I would say faith is gonna take you the longest way.
Thank you for your time.
Beautiful.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you,
my brother.
us.
Congratulations. You guys are doing a fabulous job. Phil, I'm not even going to ask. That was a banger, bro.
Oh, man, that was awesome.
That's classic.
How's she? 12? Really?
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
No,
But,
everybody watching is going to definitely love this one, and make sure you show your
you
love.
might get some consults after this. You better be ready.
Yeah.
You got them cards ready.
Chacho. You might have to throw some cards for somebody. They're going to hit you up like, hey, I need you to do a misa for me.
Oh.
There you go. Yeah, for sure. She's like, oh, man.
I got my crystal ball, guys. I'm ready.
There you go. There you go.
All right.
Oh, man.
Well, guess what time it is?
Oh, man. Elevator music.
That's right. It's time to show some love to people who show love to you, man, which is we are showing some love to the channel members. And if you're curious about that, it's a little button right under this video that says join. And we have 3 separate tiers, all offering individual perks, whether it's extra shows, live Q&As just for you guys, early releases, discounts on merch, discounts on classes, all that jazz. So today, I think we should do The premium super fans. I'm gonna
All
do the OGs of the OGs. So
Love
like
it.
the longest members here.
Love it.
So at 25 months,
Whoa.
yeah, we got Kenya Hutton.
Hey, Kenya, what's good?
Another 25 months, Lovely K.
Okay. Yeah, familiar.
We got 24 months, Joaquin Mendez.
Oh my God, son. Blessings.
Yeah, 17 months, we got James 𝗃𝗏𝗃𝗏𝗃.
Thank you.
All right, we got Derek Jones at 14 months.
Yeah, blessings.
We got Sublime Prince at
Okay.
11 months.
Great name.
And at 10 months, we got Joseph D. Gutierrez.
Oh, blessings, Iboru, Joe. Guys, couple different things going on, membership programs, classes, couple closing notes on our behalf. 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗏candlesandmore.com is up and running for all your services and needs. We do ship. If you can't catch us on YouTube, be sure to listen to us on Apple Music, iHeartRadio, etc. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. A big thank you from all of us here at the studio for Our Roots Podcast. And until next time, see the light.